Is CyberPowerPC truly a ripoff, or are their prices fair for a pre-built? We're taking a deep dive into CyberPowerPCs and some of their models of PCs available, see if their prices are actually worth it. The three systems we're going to be looking at today is the Gamer Dragon, the gaming instant chip GX99004, and one of their small form factor console-sized PCs, the Cyber C Pro 200. We're staying around the $1,000 or less mark due to the fact that most gamers are not going to be buying $2,000 to $3,000 PCs. Most of these computers are going to be entry level, and that's normally what they're going to be selling the most of. A major point I'd like to make is CyberPower is a huge company. They're not paying consumer prices for the PCs, so these build your own prices can be used as a reference for how much it would cost, for example, me and you to build it, but CyberPower is getting these parts significantly below retail. The common discrepancy that I know some people are going to say is that, oh, you get the Windows license, you get the free keyboard and the mouse or the cool RGB fans. Do you know how cheap they're getting these Windows licenses? Yes, they could say it's $109, but I can 100% guarantee CyberPower is not paying those prices for those licenses. For example, G2A sells them for $25, and these fans are simple Dark Flash or AIGO fans that you can find on Amazon for around $20-25. Well, with all that said and done, let's get into the first PC, and oh boy, is it tough. So the Gamer Dragon is $1,115. It has a AMD Ryzen 5 5600G, a GeForce GT 1030, 8GB of DDR4 RAM running at 3200 MHz, 500GB NVMe SSD, a 2TB hard drive, a Gigabyte B550 motherboard, an EVGA 600W 80 plus gold certified power supply, and then the case, we're not quite sure, but it is called the CyberPower Anoxia 2. We gave this around a $70 price point. With the building price, if you built it yourself, being $711.94, you're saving $400 building this PC by yourself. When I originally looked at this PC, it was $100 less, had 8 more gigs of RAM, and this is just really sneaky considering Black Friday came around and all these sales really weren't sales at all. Now the big issue I have with this is the graphics card. This graphics card is abysmal. The GT 1030 is actually worse than the internal graphics on the Ryzen 5. If you took out the graphics card, you'd actually see performance upgrade. If you took that money, put it towards another stick of RAM, you'd be seeing significantly better scores than the GT 1030. So the fact this is considered a gaming PC at all, you might as well just remove the graphics card. Another issue I have with the system is the 2TB hard drive. I think this is unnecessary, and I wish I would have spent that money towards maybe a higher storage SSD or a faster SSD and motherboard. So let's say you build this computer on your own. What differences would I make? What changes would I make? Honestly, the Ryzen 5 is really good. The big thing I want to change is this graphics card. The GT 1030 is embarrassing, and obviously with all that $400 you spent building it yourself, you have around $500 to get a new graphics card. Here's a list of all the graphics cards in that price range, anywhere from a 2060 to a 1080, or personally my favorite budget card, the 1070. This build personally is just a huge L for CyberPower. This build is poorly managed, poorly priced out, and the performance versus the price is embarrassing. Thankfully, the next computer has a graphics card. So this is the Instant Chip GX99004. This is one of their Instant Chip models. It's actually sold out, so that means a lot of people bought this. So let's see if it's actually worth it for the price. This system has an Intel i5 9600KF, the ASRock AMD RX 550. This is a 4GB graphics card, 16 gigs of 3000 MHz RAM, some CyberPower B360M motherboard. Not exactly sure what model this is, but we gave it the $59 price point anyway. We have a 500GB NVMe SSD, the Inwin 101 White, which they basically just reskin and put their logo on it. Then we have a pretty, how can I say this, generous power supply they put in here. So they don't give any specs on this PC. It's an instant chip model, so that means it's right out the door. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and give it a high-end EVGA 80 plus gold certified like the last one, but I expect that if they're not saying exactly what model it is, it's probably not that. With the price of the system being $969 and the build your own price being $878, you're looking around a $90 difference between the two. Although there is a few caveats. They say on their website that this graphics card costs $179 to them, and obviously for me and you, we can't find a graphics card. So $350 would be the price we paid for it, although, like I brought up before, there's tons of other options in this price range, and you can do significantly better than the 5500 XT for this price. Although, it's not a bad option. Personally, I wish they would be a little more transparent about the prices. Obviously, their true DIY price is completely wrong, so they should really update that and make it more transparent to customers. But it already sold out, so I guess they already made their money and they don't have to worry about it. And hey, did I mention you get a free keyboard and mouse? Just like the last one, there is still a few things I'd like to change. Honestly, I like the CPU, and the CPU is a little bit on the budget side now. It's a few generations old, but it will work. As well as the RAM, I wish it was a little faster, but no issues there, and the motherboard is just a motherboard. Like all the computers on this list, I do want to upgrade the graphics card though. Obviously, this graphics card isn't as bad as the GT 1030, but taking some of that money that we saved building it, as well as the scalped $350 price tag of this graphics card, we can get a really nice GPU. For example, the GTX 1070 beats it by around 50 to 60%. Then you have the GTX 1080, which nearly doubles the FPS of the 5500 XT. So these are two cards that, with that money you save, might just be worth it. Overall, the system isn't too bad. I can see why it sold out, and honestly, all the people that get this PC for Christmas are probably going to be pretty happy. The next computer on this list isn't too bad, but it's just poorly configured. We have the CyberPowerPC Pro 200. It's $1,019, has the Intel Core i5 11400F, GTX 1650, the 4GB, 16 gigs of ADATA RAM running at 3200 MHz, and the Gigabyte Z590 Aorus Ultra Mini ITX motherboard, a 1TB NVMe SSD, and then their traditional CyberPowerPC console style case. We get this $150 price point. We aren't exactly sure how much it costs, but you can find a comparable for around $150 with an SFX power supply and a small form factor case. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed by this system with how small it is, how compact it is, and all the power that they fit inside. The CPU is good, 11th gen, it's only one generation old, but this motherboard makes no sense. So this motherboard is $289. It's more expensive than our graphics card, more expensive than our CPU. I don't understand why they use this motherboard. I'm assuming it's just compatible with this case, but there's not even an option to change it in their configuration. Whether it be a good deal from Gigabyte or just this is what this case was made for and all the ports line up perfectly, I'm not quite sure. But, for example, the MSI H510i Pro Wi-Fi is $129, so more than half the price. Although I'm sure this Gigabyte board is a great motherboard, I just won't spend the $289 to figure that out. Personally, this case might not be for everyone. Yeah, it's a little flashy and might look a little weird, so if you want to save some of your money on that, go get a better looking case, go get an SFX power supply, save some money in that department. Also, the 1650 is kind of sad. With how amazing these systems are built and configured, the fact this thing won't even be able to do a 4K output towards a TV at anything of relative performance is kind of embarrassing. With a better laid out case, you can definitely use some of that money towards a better graphics card. So with around the $400 to $500 you could save getting that different motherboard, changing up the case a little bit, you could fit 1,000, 2,000, and even some 3,000 series cards in there. Personally, the 2060 is one of the only other cards you can find for retail right now and has 110% better FPS than the GTX 1650. Overall, I don't really hate this system. Yeah, the graphics card's weak, and I wish I would have used something a little stronger, but the graphics card market's a little messed up. It's more of a niche market, more of a console, home theater PC kind of market. So overall, don't actually really hate it all that bad. But when it comes to price per performance, all these systems are definitely lacking. I understand though, they have to sell you a new graphics card, they have to sell you new parts, so they can't be chucking in 1,000 or 2,000 series graphics cards. But maybe that's the reason you shouldn't buy a pre-built right now. Maybe the cards that are available just aren't worth it for the markup. To sum up these builds, my only question really is why? With much better configured systems, these prices could drastically decrease and CyberPower could still be making the same profits. Although the graphics card market is tough right now, there's just no excuse selling a $1,000 PC with a GT 1030 in it. These are not the only systems offered by CyberPower, and I can guarantee there are better systems, so I recommend pricing out each system yourself if you're looking to purchase. Overall, the best option, sadly, might just go with the CyberPowerPC Pro. Solely due to the fact it's a niche market, it was my favorite one out of this whole list. So the moral of the story, do your homework. Research all these systems, see how much all the parts cost, try to build it yourself, and if the price is close or similar, then hey, go for it. You get that free warranty, you get that free labor for I think it's a year on most systems, offered by CyberPower, so that could be a big selling point for some people. But if you have the knowledge or are willing to learn, it's definitely worth trying to build these systems yourself. You can configure much faster systems for even significantly less, look cooler, and you get to make them really your own.
In the future, we plan to look into other PC builders. If you have any recommendations, put them in the comments below, and if you like this video, please consider subscribing for weekly uploads.